You're tuning into the High Performance Path podcast, and I'm your host, Alex. If you want to increase your productivity, enhance your mental performance, hack your sleep, and build a bulletproof body, then you're in the right place. Get ready as we dive into interviews with performance coaches, business owners, and health professionals to find out their daily routines, habits, and movement practices. Alright, let's go. All right, welcome back to another episode of the High Performance Path podcast, guys. Today's guest, I have on a podiatrist, owns his own practice, Achieve Podiatry, based here in Newcastle. Welcome to the show, Justin Smith.
Cheers, mate. Happy to have this.
So let's start off with a bit of an intro, and I want to know your story. So where did you come from? What have you done? What sports have you played leading up to now? And why did you choose to study to become a podiatrist?
Yeah. It's been a long road. So I guess where I'm at now is a uni lecturer at Newcastle Uni in podiatry, and
Yep, that's right.
business owner in the field, and I wear a bunch of different professional hats, all on the fringes of the same thing: performance and strength and conditioning and injury rehab and talking and mentoring and fun stuff. For me, it sort of started on a farm out the back of Scone. I grew up the bush. Up in the bush, up near out the back of Lake Glenbourne Dam. There's not much else to do apart from sports or ride horses or probably get into the coal mines.
Yeah. How many hours from Newcastle?
It's about 2 hours. It's not too far. So it's bang between here and Tamworth pretty much. It's pretty dusty and dry up there at the moment. But so that's where I grew up, on a farm, and it was rugby league, little athletics, boxing, everything we could get our hands on, water skiing when we could. So that was my intro, and just loved it. Moved down to, developed more of a passion into rugby league specifically. Dabbled in sprinting and touch footy and all that sort of stuff as an early teen, and then it narrowed into rugby league. That was the main focus, which brought me to Newcastle. So played through the junior systems at the Knights, and travelling a little bit. Was lucky enough to sort of battle away and play through the lower grades.
So what age was that you came to Newcastle to play rugby league?
Yeah, so the 16s season, which is the national competition, travelled, and it was hard. Travelled a couple of days a week, travelling around New South Wales and Australia on weekends. But then turning 17, made the move down. So my older sister had just moved to Newcastle as well for university. She's a psychologist, and so left the farm and moved down to SFX down here and jumped into the big smoke as a 16 turning 17-year-old, and went to Francis Xavier to give footy a real crack. Loved that. It was good fun. Loved St Francis Xavier as well as a senior college. And
yeah, because that's year 11 and 12 only.
Yeah. So I was young for
big school, apparently.
Big school, yeah, it was huge. And I was from a town outside of a town. We only had 1,100 in our town, and then it was all of a sudden there was 1,100 close to at my school. Like, it was crazy. So that was really awesome. Got stuck into school, independent living a little bit more away from the family. Had to grow up pretty quick, which is awesome. Lived at Reddit on the beach. Really got into, first things first was got stuck into footy was everything. Started after school, virtually got into a broad health science degree at university. Had dabbled with lots of different trades and stuff, and knew I wanted to do something on the fringes of health. Wanted to be a footballer first and foremost. Started at uni and loved learning about health and things like that. Had a year down in Sydney playing footy as a 20-year-old down at the West Tigers. By that stage, I was sort of playing the reserve grade, NRL reserve grade stuff, and was always small, and not highly skilled, having to be fitter and faster and really try really hard to be stronger, because it wasn't that way naturally. How tall are you? So I'm 5'9.5", 177 on a good day, sort of. So certainly smaller, and so I had to be fitter and faster and focus on that. But that led me to really enjoying learning about that. Moved to Sydney, didn't quite like Sydney. It was hard. It was just different to the beach and the farm, and and wasn't quite making the NRL. Played a bunch of reserve grade games and enjoyed my time, but by that point I was studying sports science down there at ACU Uni, and I knew I wanted to come back to Newcastle. So come back to Newcastle, specialised more in podiatry because I knew I needed to narrow a bit more, and saw the opportunity in lower limb musculoskeletal type podiatry work, which intrigued me. And
Any
yeah,
particular reason why you chose that?
yeah, good question. Couple of reasons. One, I met a mentor who was one of the trainers at the club when I was a junior, and he was more of a sports-focused podiatrist, which was cool, and saw that side of it, which was an early, introductory to it. And I'm really glad now in hindsight. So now I'm 29 now, so that was, yeah, been 6 years working as a podiatrist, and yeah, it's been really great to be a specialist. Like, I work very closely in a team of. I work at a clinic where there's sports doctors and physiotherapists and everything around us. To have a niche is I really like, and be able to lean on other people for their skill sets and confidently hand over things when it's out of your scope. I really like that.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Now you're lecturing. How'd
yeah.
you get into doing that? And what exactly do you do? It's at Newcastle.
Newcastle Uni, yeah. So we have a podiatry degree. We have about 50 or so in each year. And yeah, I love it. I got the opportunity probably 3 years ago to start as like a junior. They just needed another clinical educator. So that's there's a student clinic, and all the students come in and they start to see their first patients
Oh
under
yeah.
the guidance of a really structured guidance of clinical educators. So started with that role. Loved it. Really got a taste for like you always feel like you're not ready to teach and things like that. I was only sort of 3 years out of the degree myself at that point. But yeah, having a good team around you, and it's the next iteration of growth. But doing that, so now I help run musculoskeletal tutorials, and help a little bit with some research with a few of the PhD students, which is awesome as well. And yeah, just trying to get into as many aspects of it as possible, which is, yeah, it's fun. It makes you better and challenges you to learn more when you got to teach.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. Yeah, sweet. All right, I want to talk about training
Mm.
while injured.
Yes.
So I know you've recently had an injury.
Yeah, the
Now,
irony.
yeah. Now, before we go into that, I
Yep.
want to actually get a feel. I want the listeners to get a feel of what type of training you had been doing
Mm.
up until the injury.
Yep.
And then when you did get this injury, what was the mindset you kind of had, and what did you continue training,
Yep.
and what did you kind of do to kind of what did you end up changing
Yeah.
through this injury?
Yeah, good question. So, yeah, for those out there, I ruptured my Achilles tendon 3.5 months ago now, 14 weeks ago, playing a game of touch footy. And touch was a really familiar sport for me, obviously playing footy and all that sort of stuff up into my mid-20s. And then got right into CrossFit, calisthenics training, endurance running, all that sort of stuff. But so the injury occurred after trying to get back into touch after probably 3 year layover or something like that. Training every day, similar training principles to yourself. I know we have very similar training philosophies now. I don't know. I'll probably do a little bit more. I do a bit more hand balancing and calisthenic type stuff with a bit more focus. So I'd done a lot of that sort of stuff in the last few years, and less the plyometric cutting type sports. A lot of CrossFit and gym based stuff and endurance running. But so they're the only precursors I thought. We know the incidences for males of like 5-fold higher than females for ruptured Achilles, so that's a risk factor in itself. And second game in, just unlucky. So that was the build up and what training I'd done. And then the second part, what have I done since? So immediately you catastrophize and you're like, fuck, can I swear? Is that all right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So-
Just don't say the C word.
oh, definitely not. I don't like that word
No.
anyway. Yeah, you just, we talk about the biopsychosocial model of pain experiences, the three contemporary pain science. We know it's not just damage equals pain. It's biological damage is one part. There's psychological aspects of pain, and then social, biopsychosocial implications to any pain. And for me, experience the initial trauma and the damage. I was hot, warmed up, had a lot of injuries before. Yeah, it hurt. I thought I tripped over one of the boys. The immediate pain wasn't super, dramatic for me, but immediately, at this point, I was only 3 months into my own business. I was self-employed. We're getting married in the next month. We've got an overseas trip coming up. You just immediately, the psychological aspect of pain, I was like, oh man, about 5 minutes up, just like really stressing about it. As everyone does. And then the social aspect of the next couple of weeks to months, not training in the same environments as much as I can and participating fully. So really felt that at different phases. And just from, I guess, from the third perspective, getting a bit of a taste of empathy of what I deal with every day with patients. I rehab it all the time and do different things. So um, taking that into how did I try to deal with that into training? And this is where I guess the rubber meets the road, and took a pretty good stance straight away. I was like, okay, cool. I'll just document the process, see what gold standard would look like at each checkpoint. So immediately, how do I sensitize myself to the psychological impacts with it? I was like, okay, cool. Let's just double check the prognosis. What's likely to happen? What's the research say with different pathways? What's the likelihood of me getting back to 100%? Read some literature, just refresh my memory with that. Pick a plan, and that immediately that's just like, okay, cool. What's the worst case scenario? What do I need to do with uni, with work, with this or that? Cover those immediate things, and then just get stuck into it. So just doing that very, very quickly with some trusted advisors, my colleagues, was very helpful. I think people don't often do that enough. But then training modifications. So I just picked straight away some alternate goals. So I said straight away, I had surgery a couple of days later. You don't always have to have surgery, but I had surgery.
Was there any reason behind that
Yeah.
decision?
So yeah, good question. That was the first point. There's growing bodies of evidence now that you can get away with non-surgical, and certainly that's suitable. So just you stay in this fixed plantar flex, your foot stays down, so don't stretch it at all, and be in this boot for ages, and it should settle on itself. But the research is still the re-rupture rate for people that want to get back to like high performance. Um, the re-rupture rate for non-surgical versus surgical in that population, that athletic population, it's a bit higher. So I was like, that's enough for me. I definitely want to get back to everything I want to do. I'll go surgery route, and had access to good surgeons and everything. Being lucky in the field, and turnaround time is quicker with surgery as well, which is a little bit of a factor for me, but not so much. So they were my choices initially. But then yeah, just alternate training goals. I all upper body as much as I could, even just non-physical goals. I'm an Audible man for book listening usually,
Yes.
but I was like, nah, fuck it, I'll pick up a book again. I'll read some articles, like I'll physically read some stuff, and worked on a few other cross like outside of fitness goals. But then fitness goals just went, no, I need to keep going to the gym. So I train. So my family, my fiance, soon to be wife, and her brother own the Movement Collective, a really broad training facility here in Newcastle, and so I was still 2 days after surgery, I was in there because I was really down and I just wanted to be in there. So yeah, went there and playing on the rings and stuff like that. But then it was just like, cool, I'll nail down my strict muscle ups. So set a goal for that. Set a goal for a free handstand push up with like good quality control. So a couple of those things kept me on track a little bit. And then just slowly drip feeding more and more into the specific stuff. So I'm up to skipping now, which is nice.
Oh,
3 months
nice.
down. Yeah, so just leveraging more cross training goals. We know how important it is to stay engaged in the communities if you're a community based trainer, which like that social aspect of fitness, which a lot of people, and I know you've spoken about that quite a bit. How much we get out of other people, like we're humans. So maintaining that even more so sometimes in training can be really beneficial. That's what I've tried to leverage.
Yeah, even just keeping the habit of going to the gym.
Mm,
Like if someone else was in this situation and they all of a sudden think, oh, there's no point going to the gym. I can't run. I can't squat.
yeah,
My squat's going to go down. I can't run. I can't do anything. So they'll just quit
yeah,
because a lot of people will think, well, there's no point doing anything because
mm,
I'm going to go backwards anyway. So I'll just start once I'm fresh.
yeah,
And that's one of the worst things to do.
absolutely. Yeah,
Plus, you lose if you are if you if you do go to like a social kind of environment when you're at the gym, not going, you lose that social aspect. You lose that social side of things. So you're not only not training, you lose that social interaction, which is important.
Yep.
And then you lose the habit of going that you've built. So once you do start going, it's going to be so much harder to start going again. So I think that's good.
It's everything. It's motivation only lasts so long. What's the ingrained habit? Everything's just repetition, and showing up is the same thing. And I'm like hyper social with my training, like for a couple of reasons. Like I love, after footy it was CrossFit, and that was the big thing before gymnastics, movementy type stuff and running. But and with that, I coached at a couple of the gyms, different points, and now I see lots and lots of functional fitness athletes, whether it be F45, boot camps, CrossFit. I see them all. So I love to actually train and know the coaches. So I drop in and train with you guys, and there's, yes, it's to the detriment of maybe my really quality structured program for myself. But I love getting in training at dropping in Saturday mornings at different gyms and catching up. So when people come to me and see me as athletes or with injuries, like I know, oh yeah, guy, like CrossFit Coalface, oh yeah, guy and a guy, and blah blah blah, and or when people ask me for recommendations as well, that's the other reason why I love to. I was always taught, be a part of your market demographic. So and that's one of the biggest principles, I think, is like, cool, do what you say you do, and be a part of it, be a part of the communities in which you can. So if I want to see runners, I should run. If I want to be CrossFitters, should do CrossFit. So I guess that's the driver for me. So that was really hard. Yeah.
Cool. So if someone listening here has just recently got an injury, or if down the track they do get an injury and they go from training full time, like 5+ days a week, to then all of a sudden being injured, what's one bit of advice you'd give them?
Yeah, good question. So how you perceive your injury, how you give meaning to it, is everything. And it's so easy to catastrophize it in yourself. I would say find someone. One big principle we have as health professionals, and any good quality first contact practitioner, we call them, the first person to see you with it, is these underlying tones of, am I going to show you empowerment of how to think about this, and positively frame it, and help you discover silver linings. So I would say find the person who fits that for you. If you have it in yourself, great, but even I didn't have that. I mean, I'm still going and knocking on my mentor's door, and I've still got a team of people that guide that for you. So I would say get the people to frame your thoughts very quickly with it, and block out all the deal with all those initial questions, those fear avoided questions, and get a plan together, and find the right person for your, the right team member to help guide that for you, would be the thing.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, let's change gears a bit. I want to talk about feet.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the importance of healthy feet for an overall healthy kind of body, like for proper posture or performance. How did the feet kind of come into that whole big picture?
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I would say generally less than some people think. As a whole, I think it depends in the context. They matter sometimes, and sometimes they matter not at all.
Okay.
So that's the way I think we think about it, is that the whole is always greater than the sum of its parts. So the past is one of the best predictors of the future. So if you, for instance, walked in or asked me, hey, what do you think about my feet? I'm like, cool. First thing, have you had any issues before? How do you move broadly? Like, can you squat well? Can you move well? Can you jump and land well? All those functional task-based things, and you haven't had an injury history and you're not reporting any pain or issues, then it's like, great, cool, tick box, next, moved on to your periodization and your program and your general strength and your consistency and your sleep and your nutrition. So I think for that population, doesn't matter too much at all. Train with diversity, expose things to diversity like anything else. To the injured population, we need to take more of a critical viewpoint sometimes, but it's still always, sometimes mechanics matter, sometimes foot mechanics I'm talking about. Sometimes they matter, sometimes they don't. But I think, the flat foot and things like that, this sort of really structural perception of it just of a visual representation isn't doesn't truly predict performance. You can have a really what looks to be these funny mechanics, but you've never had pain, you're functioning really well, everything else despite it, so you're fully adapted. I think there's three sort of categories with foot mechanics. There's like the flat foot that's say fully, or the abnormal foot mechanics we'll call it, unusual, but they're fully adapted and they do everything they want to do, and there's no real signs of any sort of functional tests or anything that could tell us otherwise. There's the like the copers, the people that have say abnormal mechanics or whatever, but they just sort of cope with it because they just adapt their training loads, or they pick sedentary jobs, or they swim more than they run because it's really effortful because they're really hypermobile or whatever. So they just they cope with it. And then there's like the non-copers, and that's the people that do get pain and have, asymmetries and odd abnormalities. Those things start to raise our suspicion that we need to investigate that more and then see if there's anything that can help. That's a long way to go, but I think it's a long way to sort of get to your answer about how much they matter. I think they matter sometimes, and looking at it, the core principles are like, am I looking this holistically and without my ego to think, oh, I've got my tunnel vision on, oh, the feet are the center of the universe. And, I think every profession has that issue. Surgeons get blamed with doing too much surgery. We get blamed with doing too many orthotics. Physios or chiros get blamed with doing too many adjustments or too many passive manual therapies or whatever. That's all the stereotypes. I think that the modern day practitioners that have that core skills of a broad understanding of holistic health and know their place in the world and how to assess things and see what sits within their niche and what they can refer out and work collaboratively. So I think it's a Pandora's box a little bit, but yeah.
I want to know your thoughts on two types of shoes.
Yeah.
Let's start with Birkenstocks.
Yeah.
So I've heard they're good for your posture.
Yeah.
Have I heard that? Are they supposed to
Probably.
be good for your posture?
I don't know.
They're really. I don't own a pair.
Yeah.
But apparently they're really comfortable.
I do. I own a pair.
Yeah.
Comfy. Yeah.
They are comfy.
It's very contextual though, right?
Yeah, that's true. Now, what about so barefoot shoes or minimalist kind of shoes?
Yeah.
Because there's a massive movement around minimal shoes.
Yeah.
Saying that, where as humans we didn't evolve wearing shoes.
Yep.
Like, or they weren't like an everyday thing. They were like, I guess, in colder climates, people would have had some sort of shoes for warmth.
Yep.
What's your take on the barefoot kind of shoes and minimalist kind of shoes?
Yeah.
Should people be making an effort to wearing barefoot shoes more often?
Yeah, good question. Sometimes. So again, I think we think about footwear suboptimally generally. So again, I think of a couple of variables to even think about footwear, and there's different contexts, right? So there's task demands or climate environmental demands. So are Birkenstocks good if I'm in North Alaska? Probably not. Are they good if I've got sore achy arches and I'm standing on hard surfaces? Maybe. So there's task demands or environmental demands. There's injury demands or tissue demands of the feet, or so that could be injured or just I'm walking on grass outside and there's lots of bindies, barefoot's probably not a good idea then. So I think it's more so like task demands, injury demands, or just general tolerance demands. So because people come in all the time, this is a good shoe or a bad shoe. So asymptomatic population, healthy, fit, fine, great. Training diversity is a really good principle. Expose your feet the same as other things to multiple things. One thing often I don't think gets enough credit is, yes, 100% we're born barefoot. That's really important, where it's a craving to get, things off our skin. Feet are no different. One thing is that's different in the modern world to our ancestors is these modern day surfaces, man, tiles, timber, concrete, it's everywhere. Like, we didn't evolve on that. No. So often shoes at its fundamental level are just the antidote to try and even out the ground force reactions that our weight bearing surfaces are under. So again, it's very contextual. My brother-in-law, man, he just runs around barefoot all day. He goes to the shopping centers, everything. He's fully adapted. He's built up to that, gradually exposed it over time, and for him, he really likes that. It's part of his identity. Um, doesn't mean me, who wears shoes most of the days because I'm in an office and I need it, can suddenly run outside barefoot. And so yeah, again, it depends, but I think yeah, and the research is varied. Another one, like you don't. I'm always mindful of you don't bring anecdotes to a data party. So like anecdotes, be like, oh yeah, I've heard this thing about barefoot's good now. Is it good? Okay, cool. My friend Billy said that. Let's blend that with like all these other things and how should we think about it? What some of the research say? Have they done some good studies and all that sort of stuff? And then make a well-rounded decision about what's suitable contextually. So yeah, I love training in various shoes and all that sort of stuff. But if I suddenly develop heel pain or a forefoot plantar load type injury, and then yeah, I'll look at my shoes more critically for an episode and see if I might utilize them as a tool for injury rehab. Or if I'm squatting and I've got shitty ankle range and I'm hitting a 1RM front squat or an overhead squat, I'll put on my lifters for sure. you know. So yeah, another roundabout way to talk about shoes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sweet. I want to talk about morning routines.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you have a morning routine that you stick to most days. What's your morning routine? I'm guessing it probably changes as well.
Yeah, it does. I love frameworks, but I love a freedom within a framework because my weeks are quite varied at the moment. But there's a couple of key principles for me. I usually train of a morning before work. I don't start seeing patients until 9 by choice now. So I have a good, I usually get up between 5 and 6 always, and I'll train first thing. Some various training thing. I usually get up. But one thing I've adapted in lately is actually getting up with time, getting up and being a little bit earlier with my time. So I'm, being a little bit more
So you're not
cruisy.
rushed.
Not rushed, which has helped. Um, I've started reading a book called The Magic Morning, which is pretty cool. Just talks about literally that, like creating habits in the morning and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Who's that by?
Couldn't tell you. I'm horrible with names. But the Miracle Morning.
Oh, the Miracle
Morning. Is that it? Have you read that?
Hal Elrod, I think.
Yeah.
Is that who it's
So
by?
I take little bits and pieces. So I loved one of the things what he said was like, get your shit out of the bedroom. Phones. Did that a while ago, but get straight out of the bedroom. And go, like I walk straight into the kitchen, glass of water, do some automated things to help get up earlier, brush your teeth straight away before going and thinking about getting changed. So I do that so you're half awake. But morning routines, man, I love to try and plan. I've started doing it's always some sort of training if I can, unless I've trained late the night before. So I'll always try and train of some type. But as long as I'm ticking the box of I've connected with the missus. I'm conversationally type person. I
In the
always
mornings.
we're lucky that we can pretty much every morning we'll do similar things. She might go running or she'll train or whatever, and then I'll do something similar, and then we'll just have a 10-minute connection because I won't see her for the rest of the day usually.
Yeah, that's good.
Try to do that as much as you can. Big old smoothie with some great super greens and everything like that in it. Blueberries, all the good antioxidants and cacao nibs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So try to get that, but I'll try to fast. Coffee's in there. Love me coffee. So it's just these key rituals, some sort of physical activity. Try to not be too rushed. So get up a little bit earlier. Definitely, I've got this beautiful. We look over the ocean. We live at Newcastle Beach. Look over the ocean. So
Nice.
sit in this nice rocking chair for. Usually try to chuck in a 5-minute session of just sort of sitting there, some sort of mindfulness routine, which I know you've spoken about a lot. Try to do that then if I've got the time, usually after I've exercised though.
Yeah.
Coffee with friends. I usually always train with friends down at Newcastle Beach or at one of the gyms or run or something like that. And then now because I start at 9, I've done all that and I come home and then I plan, schedule, under the same routine. Always arrive. I've got this checkpoint list. When I get to work, I always arrive 30 minutes early. Have I prepped my room? Have I checked in with my any MITs for that day? Have I written that out? Have I said hello to the staff? Have I done these things? Then I know if I just go tick, 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 And all I have to do is just refresh the checkpoints that I set for myself, and then it's just autopilot, get it done.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so flexibility, but a structured framework. Think about it all the time.
I think flexibility is important
Mm.
because what can sometimes happen if people set a morning routine and they don't get through all of it, then that can make them frustrated, and they can think that, oh, my day's ruined because I didn't get this in or I didn't do this, which is, as soon as your headspace is down that track, then your day will be ruined. So I think flexibility is important.
Yeah.
To being like, this is kind of what I want to do. If I don't do it, it doesn't really matter. But most days, if it kind of goes like this, then that's good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, I mean, like you see, and it's like that being too intense into anything, right, can become controlling. Like if you're too into your diet type stuff, like, oh man, or
Like if that takes away from eating out with your friends,
eating
which then
out,
takes away from your social life.
Like, there was a period there where we were pretty consistent. We trained at 5:18 down the beach every morning, and
5:18 to be exact.
yeah. There's a funny story behind being exact because it was initially 5:20, and it got bigger and bigger, and we just started inviting more friends, more people to come along. And as it got bigger, and we started taking all this equipment down there, it was awesome,
wow.
called the Fit Pit, and started probably 5 years ago. And
You still do that? Oh, you probably don't
sporadically,
now.
yeah. It's actually it's started a little bit again on the we've got a WhatsApp thread, all the EastEnders,
nice.
but well, yeah. But anyway, we sort of started to drips and drabs, and it was just a fun thing. Like, no, I was sort of had to just help structure it a bit more, but yeah, we're like, no. We want to be punctual, so we can do that. Train, finish at 6, get in the water all year round, have a coffee, out of there by 6:30, 6:45. So then we just found that, because exactly your response to that 5:18, it's like, that's really, oh yeah, I'll be there if it's that accurate. I better be on time. So 5:18 it became a thing.
Interesting.
It worked. Yeah, it was cool. So just helped to be a bit more punctual. Punctual is a big thing for me. So it's yeah.
Sweet. All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
I want to get through some final questions before we finish up.
Mm.
But before I get to the last 3 questions, I want a book recommendation. Could be any topic. Doesn't have to be related to your field, or it doesn't even have to be health and fitness. Just a book that you've read recently that stands out to you.
My most recent book was Mindset by Carol Dweck.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard of that book?
I have. I haven't read it.
Yeah.
That's actually on the suggestions for next month for my book club.
Well, I just finished it with a tight little book club. We haven't done the final thing. We're waiting for one of the boys to finish it. But
nice.
Great book. Do it.
Yeah.
But
well, that's got the most votes so far, so it's looking like that's going to be next month.
My own. Everyone's got their own book. Like, oh, you got to read this book, and what I think is, like, everyone's got that book for them because they read it at the right time. They took the right messages from it. So for me, the most impactful book was probably Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards, which is the science of succeeding with people. This this awesome human behavioral psychologist lady, and she talks about, it's just a self-awareness book, and then it's about introspective and all these little things and questions and tasks to do, this little website as well. But it's basically like the 3 layers of the matrix. Do you want me to explain it or just give the recommendation?
Yeah, no, let's go into that a little bit. I haven't heard of this book.
Cool. All right. So you would have heard of elements of it though. So she talks about understanding your personality type. So there's lots of different ways of personality types.
So many of those around.
Yeah. So she uses OCEAN, which is an acronym for the high or low: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeability, and neuroticism. Neurotic, like you're the high or low on those things.
I don't know if I've tried that one.
Yeah, it's similar. And she's a scientist, so she talks about the evidence a little bit and tells stories. It's a good story. But anyway, so there's that. There's like disc profiles, all that sort of stuff. But she uses that one. But she goes, that's your personality type. Then there's blends that with the second layer of your matrix is your love language. So appreciation language, love language. So it's like, know that about yourself and in others. The appreciation language and in others. But then it's blended. The third layer is resource theory, which is one I hadn't really heard of. It's like based in like the 80s, talks about there's only like 5 finite resources in the world. There's like knowledge, money, material things, time, and stature, and education. Sorry. So at the moment I'm giving you knowledge, you're giving me your time. Or if I pay you, you pay someone would pay me money and
Oh,
I'd give
yeah.
them my service. But everyone has their own hierarchy of what they value the most. So for me, I realized for me, like money as a resource was was like the lowest out of my hierarchy. And now when I put that through my own filter, that's why it showed up. I'm like, that's why I like people that like spoke about money, or when you ask them, what do you want to succeed? I want to do this with money. They'll often say their first, sometimes resources. But anyway, it was just a really cool book, and it helped blend those things and how to decipher it in the people around you and understand it a little bit more. That was probably the coolest book
So
at the time.
what was that book called?
Captivate,
By
Vanessa Van Edwards.
Sweet.
Really cool. She's got a great YouTube channel and good emails and all that sort of good stuff. So yeah, that was cool.
Netflix recommendation.
Yeah.
Could be anything.
Mate.
Series, documentary, movie.
Yeah.
What are you loving at the moment?
Series wise, where sex education.
Oh,
You
I've
seen that?
heard of that.
Yeah, it's
I haven't
funny.
seen it.
It's really cool. So
Has
we
the second season just started?
yeah, it's just started and I just finished it already.
Did you
Just
binge
smashed
it?
it out pretty much. Yeah. For about a week and we got it done. Yeah, I love those sort of chilled, cruisy. It's education all day. I love learning, but yeah, I like to balance that with that.
It is
sex
educational,
education.
is it?
No, not at all. It's hilarious. It's
yeah.
set in Britain, and this teenage, like 16-year-old kids, and all bumbling their way through puberty.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. So that's my recommendation for you at the moment.
Sweet. All right, final 3 questions. So here we go. I would have sent these to you. Did you ever think about them before?
Little bit.
Little bit?
Yeah.
So let's start with the first one. So if you could place a billboard anywhere in the world with anything on it,
Yeah.
where would you put it and what would it show or say?
Yeah.
It could show or say anything.
Yeah. So what I would say on the billboard would be ask questions and challenge answers. That's one of the key things, I think. Being curious and really thinking critically is the nuts and bolts of that. And where I would want to place it, I thought about this, which probably, it's that younger generation now, where that you're starting to find your feet in the world, which is in that late teens, early 20s. So it would have to be either probably high school's probably a little bit too early, but right out the front of Newcastle Uni, bang, university campus. Yeah, that's where I'd want to have the most impact with it. Yeah.
All right. If you traveled back in time 10 years,
Yep.
what advice would you give yourself?
Oof.
So where were you 10 years ago? What were you doing?
Yeah. I was 19. Yeah, 19. I was
Sydney?
No,
Newcastle?
I think I was in Newcastle about to go to Sydney. I was pretty much fumbling my way through a bit of uni and not playing some okay footy, but not quite cracking it. I would definitely say be more patient and be more persevering. I was very excited and that and probably do Olympic lifting. I feel like
Start
I found that a little bit too late. I found it probably 3 years later. And I used to always twinge hammies and stuff like that, and I was a little bit heavy and not full range. So the second I found ollie lifting and just like my strength within quality range just improved our sight. So that'd be a real strategic thing. I'm like, get on a barbell, do some overhead squats and start snatching. And yeah, I'd say just be more patient and learn more broadly and probably try and save a little bit better. Put some more money away.
Yeah, nice. Good advice. And then a habit. If you could give someone a habit to practice for 30 days and they would do it successfully,
Yes.
what habit would you get them to do or practice?
Yep. So get better at science. I think and I would say read about the concepts of understanding research and science. I think in the abundance world of there's clickbait everywhere and everyone's like, oh man, this, and they're even saying, oh, science says this. It's so hard. Like I'm at the doorstep of understanding how, research methodology and quality research is conducted. And I'm very grateful to be on that journey of learning it. And I would say it gives so much more volume to being able to think critically, to make better decisions because there's so many choices in the world. So having a rational way to do that is really important. So that'd be my thing.
That's interesting because if you can learn to read, like studies that come out in scientific literature, then you can do your own study on questions or topics that you're interested in learning about. But if someone doesn't know how to read research papers or like studies that come out,
Mm.
they're kind of just Googling and going off whatever's on Google or whatever's on Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people get their fitness information from Instagram,
Yeah.
which is, it's pretty stupid in theory
Mm.
because anyone can put out anything on Instagram.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think, oh, if they have like a green tick and they've got a certain number of followers, they must know something on this
Yeah.
topic.
Yep.
And they kind of,
All the bro science.
yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. It's hard. It's hard though. Like poor time. No one's got any time.
Yeah,
It's easy.
takes a long time.
It's a logical leap. We love to make like cognitive shortcuts. But yeah, do some deep learning and understand conceptual things is yeah, I think it's the best way to go.
Awesome. All right. Well, that wraps things up. That's all we got time for. So, if people want to find out more, where can they find you on social media or website? Or
Yeah.
where's your practice in Newcastle?
Yeah. So I work at the stadium. I work in a sports medicine clinic. So that's me. Very lucky to work there. Just kicked off a thing called Future Health Networks, which we're young health professionals providing resource and seminars and stuff like that with a couple of colleagues. So Future Health Networks on the socials. But yeah, man, that's me.
On social media?
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, I'm not a huge presence. I'm really about sort of relationship building and
Yeah.
educational stuff face to face. But yeah, I'm on there. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Achieve Podiatry on the socials. It'd be cool to say. Anyone wants to shout out, say hello. So yeah.
Right. All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show. It's been awesome.
Cheers, I appreciate it.
All right, guys. If you enjoyed this, please take